All right. Well, I'd like to welcome you all to today's focus group and thank you all for taking time out of your day to join. The topic for today's discussion is we are going to be discussing people's attitudes towards marijuana and its legalization. So today in our group, I'll let you all introduce yourselves. My name is Angela Felstead, and I'll be facilitating today. And I'll just go around and let you all introduce yourselves by your name.
Me? I'll go first. I'm Thomas. I'm a doctor.
Thank you for coming, Thomas.
Is he in the same house? Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Off the record.
Okay, go ahead.
My turn. I'm Melanie Smith. I'm a nurse practitioner.
All right.
And I'm Trudy Fieldstead. I live in Redwood City, California. I'm a cancer patient.
Wow.
Peter Felstead, the brother of the great Dr. Thomas, in St. George, Utah, practicing with artificial limb.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you all for joining again. So to start off the discussion, I'm going to pose the question, how do you feel about marijuana being legalized for recreational use? Melanie, why don't you start off?
I truthfully have ambivalent feelings. First of all, if you look at the states that have, or they're the outcomes in the states that have legalized marijuana, for example, Colorado, what you want to look at is crime rates and the collateral effects of marijuana use. In Denver, the police statistics show that crime is up almost 7% compared with the same period last year. Interestingly, crimes such as public drunkenness are up 237%, and drug violations are up 20%. So that's something we have to take into consideration. And another thing we have to take into consideration is really how we deal with it. If we legalize it, then what are the limits? And our only example currently is alcohol. Different states have different limits as to how much alcohol a person can, or what the blood level can be in a person's blood after consumption. So that throws in a lot of bureaucratic guesses right now as to what should be legal and how do we measure that. And so it can get messy. I think as far as marijuana, should we make someone a criminal for using it? I don't know. That's the question. I think that perhaps there are better ways to deal with it, such as education. Does legalizing marijuana make it okay, or does it dissuade people from using it? Perhaps there's a cohort that is dissuaded from using it because it is illegal. And that in itself, I think, is beneficial to have. It makes making marijuana use illegal a positive. But if we look at smoking, we can see that just the outright, as we have educated people over time, smoking rates have gone down despite the advertisements and whatnot, and despite the fact that it isn't legal. So I guess my premise is that there are probably better approaches to discouraging marijuana, although I think on the federal basis it's still legal federally. And I think that that's important because you have professionals working in the medical field who need to be on their A game when they're working with patients. So that's something we also need to think about. So before we decriminalize it and make that the status quo, I think we really need to do better investigation and look at the stats and the impact, and determine in what situations it should absolutely not be legal.
Okay.
Anyway, keep going.
Okay.
Sorry, it's enough.
No, you're fine. That was great. So you feel that other avenues should be looked at before saying it should be legal. That's
Before we decriminalize it, I think we should make an effort to study how to approach it, and study other states and the collateral damage that's related to marijuana.
Okay. Thomas, how do you feel in regards to Melanie's comments? Do you agree with her that there are probably other avenues that can be taken advantage of that would be more beneficial than just legalizing marijuana?
Absolutely. I agree with her comments. She said them in a very tactful way to avoid taking a strong stance. But so coming from the medical profession, I would love to see marijuana used more, medically speaking. The unfortunate thing is it's difficult to get good studies on it because of its current classification. All the studies are very small, with groups of 50 people instead of your usual groups of 100,000 or 10,000 people or something like that. Anyway, since most people claim that marijuana use is good for pain, and I think it would be great if it were used medically. A lot of people claim that it helps with their pain and anxiety, even though there's no official indication for it as a medicine. So we're still in the experimental phase with it. I don't know that it needs to be legalized recreationally. As Melanie said, there's lots of complexity into allowing that. Like, well, say a doctor wanted to use it recreationally, it's going to appear in his system for many days. When do you classify that as practicing medicine under the influence of substances? So there are a lot of complications if you just freely allow it. However, thank goodness we have a couple states now willing to try that out, so we can study them and figure out what's best. Okay.
So do you feel in regards, you're talking about how people can utilize it for pain. You don't think that as far as like aspirin use, people would just be able to use it whenever they want over the counter? You think that's more complex of a drug and the effects that it has, obviously?
Yeah, I think it should still require being prescribed at this point until we know more about side effects and effectiveness. It should still be prescribed, not over the counter. But I don't think it should be a class 1 medication, a Schedule 1, where it's illegal to use.
Okay, great. Peter or Trudy, would you like to input your opinions?
Sure, go ahead, Peter, or do you want me to go first?
Go ahead, Mama.
Yeah, this is a very hot topic where I live.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people, not a lot, but every now and then there are people who tell me that they use marijuana for medicinal purposes, and they recommend it for cancer. These particular people recommended it in the case of cancer. However, I have very strong opinions against legalizing it. I mean, I won't talk about medicinal purposes, only recreational.
Okay.
My opinions have to do with the legalization of marijuana for recreational purposes. And number one problem I have with it is people driving
Okay.
after
Well,
using marijuana
all right.
and the danger that they are.
Okay. So that's your number one issue with the use of marijuana recreationally.
Right. Yes. The two others. One is people who use it in my neighborhood. We can't even have people smoke in public places here, but they use marijuana, and here we are inhaling it, and there's nothing we can do about it. I'm not happy about that.
Yeah.
So the effects that it has on their surroundings,
Yes, the
it's
second
their
hand.
right to not be exposed to that as well
Yes.
as their
Yes.
right to necessarily.
Exactly. You got it. And then there was one other point I was going to make. Oh, I can't remember now. It'll come to me. Go ahead, Peter. I'll
Okay.
figure it out.
First, I just want to ask Thomas, do you know if there's any studies about secondhand marijuana smoking? I don't know anything about that, so I'm curious.
I don't know of anything. Maybe there's something, but not that I'm aware of.
I'm told over and over again by patients that it's much less dangerous than smoking, but I don't know. So
The problem I see is that it leads to other drugs.
gateway drug. So no one's brought that up yet, and I hear that's a big problem. So
Well, we
that's
kind of brought
certainly.
Yeah.
I do have a study on secondhand marijuana smoke.
Oh. What does it say, Melanie?
This was done. There are a few that have been done. But there's one in 2016 of study in rats found that secondhand smoke exposure. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just looking at it right now. Sorry, I have to go down a little bit. The 1 minute of exposure to secondhand marijuana smoke impaired flow mediated dilation, or the extent to which arteries enlarge in response to increased blood flow of the femoral artery that lasted for 90 minutes. Impairment from 1 minute of secondhand tobacco smoke was recovered within 30 minutes. The effects were independent of THC concentration. When THC was removed, impairment was still present. The research has not yet been conducted with human subjects, but the toxins and tar levels known to be present in marijuana smoke raise concerns about exposure among vulnerable populations such as children and people with asthma. There was actually another really good study done by Harvard on teenagers, and that one was showed irreversible brain damage after exposure in the teenage mind. And I'll find it. Keep talking, but I know it exists.
Was that secondhand smoke, Melanie?
No, that wasn't. The one I just read was secondhand. There's one that shows the effects on a developing teenage brain.
Right.
That's very highly negative.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
it can cause injury to a fetus if a mother is smoking. And I'll let you know. I'm looking for the one that Harvard just did.
So we can go back to Peter then. Do you have a stance? Do you have an opinion about recreational marijuana being legalized?
The libertarian side of me says, alcohol is probably really bad. Smoking's really bad. But people are going to do it if they want to.
Mhm.
It's hard to incarcerate hundreds and even thousands of people based off of their use of marijuana. I've been told that marijuana was legal before something like 1930 something. I don't know. I don't know why originally, I don't know why they made it illegal.
Mhm.
I don't know if things weren't going well for it back then. I don't know, but it's hard. We throw people in jail for something like that costs us all a lot of money, and there's a lot of gangs and problems, obviously. So it's two-edged sword. You can't win if you legalize it, and you can't win if you don't, because they're still going to use it. The problem I see is that my secretary, who had lived in Colorado and then moved to St. George, where she worked for me, all her family lives in Denver area,
Mhm.
and lots of teenagers are getting into marijuana because it's readily available, and that's probably not a good thing.
Yeah.
Sounds
So-
like Harvard says that's bad.
Yeah. So the most important factor for you is, well, if it continues to be illegal, then we use resources to have people in jail and police forces to detain them for illegal use. So it could be simplified and less money could be spent if it were legal.
Maybe it has to be like alcohol. You have to be 21. I don't know. It's hard. We have to figure out at what age it doesn't affect the brain development, I guess. But then again, there's always going to be kids using it. So there's still going to be police going after teenagers, of course.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I talked with my neighborhood policeman, and they just look the other way on marijuana use for recreation. They don't even bother. So they're not using any resources right now.
It's
That's a
too
good
ubiquitous, but I really think that this Harvard study showed that that schizophrenia, let's see, between the teen years and mid-20s, area of the brain responsible for judgment and problem solving are still making connections with the emotional centers of the brain. Smoking marijuana may derail this process and so increase the young person's vulnerability to psychotic thinking. So I think that the issue is the collateral damage. So as these teenagers' brains develop, they're not reaching their potential as far as their education. And really, I think if we really emphasize education and the effects of it, that might be a more powerful deterrent. But we don't know. Again, I think it worked with smoking. You don't see as much smoking going on as you did years ago. But again, people do it because it's a thing to do. So does illegalizing it make it less popular? That's the question. Is it going to deter people?
Yes.
I think it's interesting if you're comparing the harm potential of marijuana, as Peter said, and my opinion is such that the harm potential of marijuana is at the minimum comparable to alcohol and cigarette tobacco use.
Right.
And at best is probably minimal compared to those. And so if those are legal, we don't have a good precedence for making marijuana illegal.
Right. It's more of the stigma.
Mm-hmm.
Just because alcohol has become the status quo as smoking has. So I think that there is more of a stigma to marijuana, and therefore it's been more difficult to legalize because of that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we had a few other points to discuss, but I feel like the conversation has served its purpose, and we can conclude from here. Did anyone else have anything else they wanted to say before we end this group discussion?
Maybe if it's legalized, then at least we can put warnings on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And regulate it more.
And in regards to Trudy's concerns, at least in Colorado, for instance, it's only legalized for use on privately, so within your own home. You can't use it publicly, just like alcohol.
Oh, interesting.
And it's still federal. The federal government. It's still illegal from a federal government perspective.
Oh, yes.
Obama officially said that he wouldn't be prosecuting in those areas.
Right.
Who knows what Trump says, but.
Although businesses and employees of hospitals under federal rulings still have to comply with the law.
Mm-hmm.
So there is still punitive repercussions if you work within a facility that's federally funded. You will, regardless if it's legal in the state, you can still be incarcerated.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, you guys.
I know, Thomas, in those states as well, federally, you're still protected.
I don't know. I mean, I
don't think that in Colorado, if you're a doctor and you are under the influence of marijuana, that you're going to get away with it, though.
I'll have to look into how it works, because can an employer set stricter regulations than the state government? I don't know. It certainly seems like good.
I think so.
So.
Okay, guys, thanks so much for helping me with my assignment. It was fun.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully we'll get to see you guys soon. I know, Trudy, I'm coming out next week, and
cool. Hey, Angela, my last day of radiation is Wednesday. What day do you get here?
I get there the 11th on Sunday.
Oh, okay. The next.
How you feeling, Trudy?
I'm feeling good. I get tired, but I'm feeling good. And of course, my skin looks horrible.
Oh,
burning.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But you know, it's going to be on the mend pretty soon.
Good. And then what's the next step?
That is the end of the horrible treatments. And then I still continue infusions every 3 weeks of the Perjeta Herceptin until September. As long as it doesn't affect my heart, they keep checking my heart every 3 months.
And it's good?
So far, so good. Yep.
Good. Okay.
And then they'll start me on the aromatase probably after I finish radiation. And that'll take for 5 years.
Aromatase?
Aromatase, something.
Wow.
That's an injection, the aromatase?
Sorry. Arimidex. Sorry, it's not aromatase. Yes.
So
it's
Arimidex. They'll just deliver that IV? The Arimidex?
No, it won't be delivered IV. It'll be just a pill I take every day.
Oral? Oh, okay.
I have a patient on that right now, Mama.
Yeah. So after
you'll be on oral maintenance.
What's that?
A while. You'll be on oral maintenance when you're done with your treatments. Okay.
Yeah, and then I will start seeing a physical therapist after I heal from radiation to help me with my arm.
Right.
After surgery, after they removed the lymph nodes, that shoulder and arm needs some rehabilitation.
Right.
Maybe marijuana can help.
No.
They actually give cannabis to little kids with cancer because they don't get nauseous on it like they do from opiates.
Wow.
We use it to help stimulate appetite too.
And seizures.
Yep.
Huh.
Hey, Peter, tell Amber thank you for letting me steal you away for a while.
I will.
Yeah, tell the kiddos hi too.
I will.
Good to see you all, the Feldstead family.
You too, Melanie.
Yeah. All
I'll
right.
be visiting
Okay.
them in a couple weeks, so I'm excited.
Oh,
What's that?
cool.
Thanks, Ange. It
Thanks,
was a
you
good
guys.
opportunity to say hi to everybody.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Love you all.
Bye. See ya.